Importance of labor cost. When we looked at labor cost calculated for each scooter, it was between $6.40 and slightly over $10. You might say it is a very small cost compared to, let's say, material cost that we pay for the parts of the scooter, right? Even though it's a small cost, notice it's still worth to work on optimizing it. First of all, this cost is under our control, right? This is the cost we can control. For example, materials we buy as cheaply as we can from our suppliers, but after we do some work, we come up with the cost of materials that we're cost takers here. We cannot lower those costs. We can negotiate, but we cannot optimize anything, right? It is actually also worth working on reducing the idle time just because it might hide quality problems. This is something that we will talk more when we discuss lean operations. And also, one more thing to realize is that labor cost becomes higher when we roll up over the supply chain. What do we mean by this? So here is a chart that shows you when you roll the labor cost or other all kinds of costs over the supply chain. So here is a breakdown of, let's say, our Nova Cruz company costs, and you see that labor cost, the yellow part, is a small part of the cost. The largest part is actually purchased parts, right? Cost of purchased parts, it's over 70%. However, how are those parts made? If you look at, if you buy one of those parts from a manufacturer of this part, you will find out that they also have a labor cost there as part of the cost and also some materials, right? So each of those parts is actually, again, at your supplier broken down into different kinds of costs, including the cost of parts for that part and the cost of labor. So if we look at our costs and roll it down into our suppliers, right? So to consider those costs together, our costs and our suppliers' costs, you will see that labor cost becomes a larger percentage and cost of parts become smaller percentage, right? Because these are just the parts that are bought by our suppliers, not by us, right? And this is the labor cost of us and our first tier suppliers. So if you roll it up further, you might discover that, right, if you go to suppliers of suppliers of suppliers, roll it over 5 tiers of suppliers, you'll find that the labor cost becomes a much more significant percentage, right? And so there are other costs that are still important, but they are hard to reduce. But labor cost is actually easier to reduce because a lot of it may be because of inefficiencies, because of some idle time that you have, and you can improve labor cost, right? It is under our control, and it is actually more important than it seems from just a comparison in our individual organization.